Hello, Lucy, and
Hi.
hello, listeners and viewers. This is our 12th episode of the year of being 70 that my friend, my childhood friend, Lucy McCarraher, got me into. And so each week we're talking about the decades of our lives, the times we've lived through, the uh, opinions we've had, the choices we made. And this time we're going to tell each other three things we think the other doesn't know about us.
Yes,
So
it's
why don't
confession
you?
time. I
It's
don't know what you're going to confess or whether it is confession
good.
time, but I've come up with three things that I don't think you know about me. So shall I start with the
Tell
first
me one.
one? Okay. So the first thing it does feel a bit like a confession because although it's nothing there's no kind of conscious badness about it. I fear that people will judge me on it. And my thing is I don't like music.
You don't like
I
music.
don't like music mostly. It doesn't
All music, you like none of the styles, pop music, classical music, reggae, hip hop,
there's
nothing.
no, there's some music I dislike less than others. I mean, so music that kind of connects back to possibly childhood or possibly my kind of teenage years, pop songs. I can kind of enjoy those. I can sing along. I find those not unpleasurable. But I don't get joy out of music in the way that other people do, I've realized. And it's taken me, most of my life, probably until about 5 years ago, to realize that I actually am not really quite normal in this way. And there is a name for it. And I was very relieved when I
You have a
found
label. You
it's
have
a
a label.
thing. It's called Music Anhedonia. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's just a neurological sort of tick. And about 3 to 5% of the population have this, but I only have ever met, I think, two other people who have admitted to it. But it's just that your pleasure centers in your brain are not connected to your auditory ones in the same way that most people are. So, I mean, my I was talking about it to my mum the other day, and she said, "So, do you not get carried away with music sometimes?" And I said, no, that has literally never happened to me. I don't, I can understand music, I can hear tunes. I have grade 4 piano exams that I did, but I did not enjoy my piano lessons. And when I was young, we used to go, our school and other schools used to go to these classical concerts. In the festival hall on a Saturday. They were called the Robert Mayer concerts, and they were a great treat for everybody. It would be kind of introduction for young people to classical music. And I absolutely hated them. I just found it extraordinarily boring. You're trapped in this room with this noise going on and no, I think what I find I can't deal with in music is there's no story. And even opera is too, oh, I can't stand opera. I can't stand the sound of trained voices. It just it just makes me feel
I
ah.
love it. I love it. Wow.
So
But maybe I can add one person to the two that you've met, because after my father passed in 2008, my mother kind of, in the first few days already said, "Ah, now I never need to go to the opera house again." And she
well,
didn't. She
no.
never liked classical music, but she faithfully, as
Oh,
it was, they did things as a couple. And my mother would maybe sometimes go to the movies when my father had an appointment in the evening, but she would never kind of do something. And my father, he never thought of, yes, of
no.
course
Well,
she
I think
would accompany him,
if
but she never enjoyed it. Like you, she never enjoyed it.
did she enjoy other music or was she not? I mean, I will never just play music in the background. I will never turn on, I'll never put, sort of play music on, in the house for pleasure. It's just
Me
not.
neither. Although there was this top 4,000, and they played this very, very sweet French song that I now play almost every day. And it says, you can live without a job, you can live without money, you can live without this, you can live without that, but you can't live without tenderness. And it is such a sweet song. So I really play it also for because we are language persons. I mean,
Yeah,
we have audible pleasure. And you listen to books and also you like to chat as you know, this is proof of
exactly.
that.
Yes, words are great.
And also I've been listening, I bought this little gizmo and I put two conductors on my orchids here. And then through the interference between the leaves, they influence the music that comes from the app on my phone.
How
And it is
amazing.
such sweet and lovely and beautiful music. Maybe
So
next time I can set it up so
your
you can.
orchids choose your
Well,
music. Your orchids choose your playlist.
well, no, no. There are several kind of musical spheres, and but then they add to it, and you know, next time I'll set it up here, and then we can see that one orchid, you know, influences the music differently from another.
How
And of course, they're
extraordinary.
not musical; they're not making that music, but
No,
it
no.
is kind of the life inside their leaves that is happening. That kind of, you know. And also, I've noticed, I've had it now, I've installed it since Sunday, and I've noticed that at some point they kind of tire, then it becomes a bit samey, and then I put the electrodes on another one, and so
Extraordinary.
it
That is
is
really
funny.
bizarre.
So
But
maybe,
yeah,
just maybe, we will do a test and see if you like the music of plants.
I very much
Do
doubt
that
it.
next time.
We can try it. We
But
can try it. But
you
I mean,
said you,
annoyingly, there's a weird thing that does happen, though. I mean, for instance, if I hear Christmas carols or kind of patriotic music like Land of Hope and Glory or Jerusalem, I start to get a lump in my throat. And I find that's even more annoying because I don't want to feel I'm not, I'm not that kind of patriot that stands up and sings about England. It's not, it and yet it kind of I think it's memories. I think what the music's doing is accessing sort of, deep memories and singing Christmas
like the
carols when I was
60s and
young.
70s
Yeah,
music.
exactly. But I
Yeah.
don't I don't listen to music for pleasure ever.
Me, not so much either. The house is silent and we have no really big music installation here. I just have my little. But one thing you said, because you were afraid you're going to be judged for this.
Yes, I mean, I feel somebody once said to me when I said I don't really like music, they said, "Oh, Lucy, you haven't found your soul, or you've got no soul, or something." And I thought, God, that's really cruel. I mean, it's not my fault I don't like music. And is that what it
Say about
means?
this person. Yeah. No, it's not your fault. You have a word for it, you have a label, and I can now posthumously label my mother in there too.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
That's
So that's your third person who has it too.
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your first confession, if we're going to call it that, the thing that I don't know about you?
Well, I don't like soft drinks. And I have only had one glass of Coca-Cola in my life, which
Wow.
spans 70 years, as you know. And that was kind of because I couldn't refuse it. But it was like, ew. And
Really?
in Dutch, we call it fresh drinks. And they are everywhere, right? And you see people drink it in this Coke Zero and
Yeah.
all these chemical concoctions. And I just stay away from it. And I don't like it. I don't like the look of it. I don't like the bottles. And I'd love to tell the story about my one glass of Coca-Cola that I
Go
drank.
ahead. Yes. Tell me.
Because this is something you might not know about me either. I think it was in 83 or 84. I went to visit friends in Dubai. They worked in Dubai. They were friends from my student days. And then on the way back, I stopped. I flew from Dubai to Amman because I wanted to see Petra, you know, these rock
Yeah.
formations, the caves. And at the time, I mean, now there's a big trail there, but at the time that was, you know, all very, there was one hotel and so I arrived on Amman Airport by myself, and I had not arranged transportation because also 83, we had no internet, we had no phones, we had no booking.com, nothing of the sort. And so I came out of the airport in that heat and I kind of stood there and there were like 40 taxi drivers. They were all like, come to here. I mean, and I was standing there going, what now? And then I caught the eye of a man who was kind of standing a little further afield and he looked amused. And so he came up to me or I came up to him, I don't know. And he kind of, I like to think that he parted the taxi drivers like the Red Sea. And he said, I've come to collect a friend and I can drive you to the bus station. Just take a bus there and that'll be okay. But then first he drove us to his home. And so I was with this American friend and him at his house. And then out of the backyard somewhere came this woman who was his wife. And they presented us with a glass of Coca-Cola. And I was like, I can't refuse
No,
this. I
no.
must, drink this. And we got into a conversation. And at some point I said, this bus. Oh, yes, I need to drive you. And then we got into another. And I was a bit worried. But in the end, he drove me to the bus station and I got on the bus and went to Amman and kind of saw that whole site kind of by myself. There was no one there.
And that was all facilitated by a glass of Coca-Cola that you didn't
My
want.
one glass of Coca-Cola in my whole life.
And you never even tried it as a child.
Well, as a child, one of the things I describe my childhood is as, my parents kind of moved up in the world. And when my 10-year younger brother was born, there was like soft drinks in the fridge. But when I was born, it wasn't. We had lemonade,
Yeah.
yeah, we had syrup and then water, and that was it. And we drank it through a straw. And it was precious and it was rare and it was on really hot days and your birthday kind of
So you
thing.
like that. So what do you, is it the fizzy stuff you don't like? Is that the kind of, or is it
Even
the,
the color of Coca-Cola, this brown, how could you drink that? It's
so,
just,
so is it just Coca-Cola really that you don't like, or
no,
do
but
you
it's
not
also
like?
all the other ones, all the other sweet chemical concoctions. I do
Yeah.
not understand why people would want to put that in their bodies.
No, no, that's understandable. Yeah, I can have a glass of Coke occasionally, but yeah, it's I do understand that. But yeah, you obviously have a stronger aversion to it
I
than
have a
most
really
people.
strong aversion. So these were our aversions.
Yes.
So the next confession,
Okay,
Lucy.
so my next confession is something that I love, and I tell you this because I think people may get the impression that I'm quite kind of intellectual, possibly, or high-minded, but I absolutely love popular television. I love soap operas. I love quiz shows, game shows. I really absolutely there are several soap operas. You probably won't have heard of them, but I watch EastEnders every day. Every day I watch EastEnders, which is an ongoing soap opera that probably started in the 80s, and it's sort of set it's in the East End of London, and it completely ridiculous in many ways, but it's like it's a world for me. And then I watch Neighbours, which is an Australian soap opera, and I think I watched that because I lived in Australia for 8 years in my 20s. And then later, my boys, when Neighbours became a big thing among kids and teenagers in the UK in probably the late 80s. And I kind of watched it with them. And then they grew up and stopped watching it. And I went on watching it and I still watch it. And it was
And
sort of
mum kept on.
yes. And it was cancelled by the people who made it a couple of years ago. And then Amazon Prime decided to make it. So it's back again and it's wonderful because I can watch it every day. And the other one I listened
And
to,
when do you watch this? When do you watch this? When
I
do you
watch
do
it
this?
in the kind of late evenings on catch up when I'm sort of tired. And I'll often watch it in the background if I'm sitting in the evening with my laptop on my knee, writing or doing some work, looking at emails. I will have, EastEnders or Neighbours on
So
in the
you work,
background.
you work all day and then you work in the evenings too.
Yes, I do different sorts of work
I
in the
did not know
evening.
that about you
No,
either.
well, there you are. Yes, I think I'm probably a workaholic as well. That's my yes. And then the other one I watch, or no, I don't watch. It's a radio soap opera called The Archers, and it's that's been going since the 1950s, and it's about a fictional village in England called Ambridge, and it's a sort of agricultural community. And I listen to I listen to the omnibus, as they call it, the entire roundup every Sunday. So that's my confession. I'm very lowbrow.
Oh, yeah, I have another friend who listens to the Archers every day,
Oh,
has done so
really?
for most of his life. He got married really late in life, and one of his worries was that he wouldn't be able to listen to the Archers.
Oh,
But it
that'd be
was, I have
terrible. Yes.
light kind of going on and off here. Is it
It's
visible?
fine. Don't worry.
Okay? I'm not sure what's happening there, but um,
It's your
yeah.
orchids.
It's my orchids talking through the light. It might just
Definitely.
be. So you love soap operas and you watch them late at night when you're still working. You sit with your laptop.
Often. Yes. Yes.
Often,
So,
often.
so,
Okay.
so how about you? What's your next confession?
Well, my next confession, I would say, is that I've stopped showering every day.
Ooh, that's an
Ooh la
interesting
la.
one.
Is that hygienic, Lisette? Are you? Yeah, I mean, it started when we were young, when I was really young, we had one bathroom with the five of us and then the six of us when my brother was born. And we washed, at the one basin, the one washstand, all of us every morning. And then sometimes we would take a bath. We have lovely pictures of the three of us sitting in the bathtub and then we were kind of rubbed and really gotten clean. And then when we moved house, when I was about, I don't know, 13 or so, then my two brothers and my sister and I each had like a separate walk-in shower, which was like the epitome of luxury. I remember, friends of my parents coming to see the new house, and wow, the children, that was us, the children each have their own bathroom. Oh la la, that was something.
Wow.
And then this whole thing of showering every day, of course, became a habit. And then now, it all has to do with houses and homes. So now, when we sold our house in the city center and moved temporarily to another house, I didn't like the shower there. It was small, it was inconvenient. It kind of flowed over whatever I did, and then the whole bathroom was wet. So then I don't know, one day I just didn't shower. And then I thought, I actually feel fine. I'm not really dirty. I sit behind my laptop a lot. I do some walking and I do some sports, trainings, but I'm not really dirty. And it's really nonsense to, use soap and scrub away the microbes that I have just learned last week. Do you know how many microbes we carry with us?
I
Did
certainly do
anyone
not know. Tell me.
know? They are invisible to the eye. They're everywhere on our eyelashes, around our nose and mouth, armpits, everywhere in our gut. They are essential. They're essential. I can only do this in kilos. 1.5 kilos of these invisible beings is part of our weight.
Wow. Wow. That is a lot.
That is an amazing lot. And so I don't shower every day anymore. I kind of shower every 3 days, or yeah. And it makes the morning routine much faster.
Yeah, no,
I,
that sounds rather appealing. I may I
yeah,
may try this because I do shower. I may take like one day of a weekend. I might not shower as a sort of like a kind of concession to I'm just going to get up and, not put any makeup on and not,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and do that. I mean, one of the reasons I shower every day is well, yeah, shower full stop, is that my hair needs to be wet before it can dry, before it looks, sort of. I know it looks like it's just kind of, it's just a short haircut, but actually it needs work to even look like a short haircut. So I tend it's easier to wet it in the shower, I suppose. But yeah, no, I do think that probably we do, or certainly we do kind of wash off too much it's not dirt.
And also, we use a lot of water. We use heating for the
Yeah,
water. So it feels like good not to do it. But I also think, if people know, they will judge me for it and think I'm a dirty person and I'm not hygienic. And this whole idea of hygiene, of how, earth is now called dirt and it's dirty when you have your feet in the earth, whereas it is so healthy to walk bare feet through nature and, load up more microbes. You can
yeah,
tell I've had a lecture on microbes. So for
right,
about two
right,
weeks, I
right.
know a lot about it, and then it kind of sinks in my memory and I don't remember so much. So I need to talk about it now.
Yes, no, no, no. I think it's a really good point. And I also think it's not just about showering our bodies, but also, the areas we live in. I mean, I think people are obsessive about cleaning and using cleaning products and what we eat as well. I mean, my grandfather used to say you need to eat something like, I don't remember what the phrase was, but something like a peck of dirt a day. I don't know what a peck is, but some small amount but because you're building up your immune system, and if you are so clean and everything around you is so clean and germ free, your immune system doesn't build up any.
It
And I'm
needs some
sure
training.
yeah, and I feel I don't get ill very often, and I'm sure it's because my house is filthy. No, it's not. But I'm not an
Oh,
obsessive.
that's a confession.
No, I'm not confessing that. I was joking. But it's, I don't kind of, swab down all the surfaces with, antibacterial cleaner
Disinfectant.
and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I must say my children do complain about what's in the back of my fridge, but that seems to be an inherited thing. My mother's fridge was like that, and her mother's too. So perhaps
Well,
it's
I complained about my mother's fridge, and now I look at my fridge and I go like, uh-oh, let me, I still remember because of course she's a. But my father, at some point, he was this businessman and he traveled a lot, and he said that he would take a sip of water while brushing his teeth. He would take a sip of water, of the local water, just to train his immune system.
oh,
So I
that's
thought I was
interesting.
raised like that, and also my mother. We always made fun of her, but she could find, something on the floor in the supermarket and just put it in her mouth and just eat it. And we would think that was because, during the war, she was in a prisoner of war camp and there wasn't enough to eat. So she'd just have it from there. But sometimes your says to me, or we drop something in the kitchen, and it isn't, and then I will just eat it. And he goes
Yeah,
like, "You are just like your mother." And I go like, "Yes." I used to make fun of her, but now I go like, "Yes, I am
yes.
just like my mother." And it's not like all of a sudden because, a nut was dropped on the floor, it is now uneatable. What nonsense.
No, no, exactly. I mean, I'm not sure I'd eat something off a supermarket floor, but I'd certainly eat something off my
No,
own
that was my
kitchen floor,
mother.
which is not necessarily any cleaner, but probably hasn't had quite so many people walking through it. But yeah, I mean, and it's true. My my children tease me about that as well, and I do think it's probably also that we were brought up with, I mean. With the generation who had food rationing, and it was make do and mend, and you didn't waste not, want not. Those were all the phrases, the English phrases for staying, not wasting things during the
Yeah,
war. And I'm sure that's transmit, although, pretty much as soon as we were born, things started to get much more, there was plenty of
yeah,
food, and everything became much more available. But I'm sure we've
yeah,
inherited that sort of attitude as well, particularly from our mothers. I'm not sure my father ever sort of um, sort of was like that, but in fact, he wouldn't have known what the inside of a fridge looked like. Never mind keeping it tidy. But I very much doubt that he could actually have boiled an egg, my father. So he was not somebody who ever cooked for himself or anybody else. But
Well,
yeah.
actually, I did. It's so interesting you mentioned an egg because my simile was about the same. When I started to work at the bank, after my studies, there was still this really kind of hierarchy. And, I worked in the PR department. And when someone from the board called, it's like people kind of stood at their desks like to attention. And I was much more irreverent because my father was on a board. And I always thought, well, he doesn't know how to, how to bake. Well, he would like bake eggs and do the eggs on Sunday. That was kind of his thing. And otherwise, nothing in the kitchen. So I always kind of looked at those men and go, yeah, you're a big dude here, but I can put you in situations when you know
Yes.
nothing. And it kind of freed me up also to talk to them. And in a way, my whole company was built on that freedom of, yeah,
No hierarchies,
say
no. No, that's nice. It's all down to whether you can boil an egg or not.
absolutely. So, confession time, your third.
Okay, my confession time. And I say this because there's something about the way I present myself clearly, and not just in a kind of professional way, but people are always apologizing if they swear in front of me, if they don't know me particularly well. And I find that hilarious because I swear more than most people I know. I am quite, well, I wouldn't call it foul-mouthed, but I use a lot of swear words in at
Really?
home. Yeah.
Lucy, I've
So
never heard you do this.
no, well, I suppose I'm kind of I have a kind of instinct for people who, well, not you particularly, but for people who don't like to hear swear words. But
I
I
don't like
I
to hear them at all.
I mean I love swear words. I think they're wonderful. In
Really?
English swear words are kind of Anglo-Saxon words for body parts or body functions. And I mean, I don't want to get kind of overly literary about this because I just actually think swearing is I just use the words naturally. I mean, but I do like them as words as well.
I want to hear those words now. Talk to me like you would talk to, I don't know, in the car. Sometimes I think we all swear in
Oh,
the
you don't
car.
really don't want to hear what I say, what I say to other
What we
drivers
say in
in
the
the
car,
car.
we might be censored for
Yeah, no, yeah,
undue language.
absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, I will definitely call somebody an effing C word, whatever. And I love those words. I think they're
Really?
fantastically powerful words. I mean, what people,
I think they are too, and that's why I don't use them.
oh, well,
I think
right.
all words hold power because all words, when we speak, we bring, what we hear is not a word, it's kind of a wavelength, right?
Yeah.
So I choose to have a wavelength of life-affirming, loving words. And I do swear in the car, but not really. I mean, more like shit or something. Or, but uh, but I feel with words, we help create and maintain and activate fields, and so the swear words activate a certain calibration, and that's why I don't like them. And I actually don't like to be around people who swear a lot. I will choose not
I
to go
probably
there.
intuit that, and I don't swear in front of you. But
No.
I do it when I'm sort of talking to myself, I suppose, and I do talk to myself probably more than I used to. But I mean I love the kind of the combination of the consonants and the vowels that most of our, and I don't know what Dutch swear words sound like. I mean that that's it. Maybe are they? I mean, are Dutch swear words, are they kind of old words? Are they? I mean,
I mean, we have Americanized our swear words, I think,
yeah,
like
right.
the shit and things like that. But it's mostly, well, we can be, of course, very guttural.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so that is kind of satisfying to make
Yes.
that kind of guttural sound and have some power with those words. So,
Yes. Yes. No, Dutch is wonderful too. I mean, you taught me.
yeah, you would love to be able to swear in Dutch.
I would. You'll have to teach me some Dutch swear words, and then I can incorporate them into my swearing vocabulary. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a beautiful Aubrey Beardsley drawing of a I don't. Do you know the artist Aubrey Beardsley? you probably, oh well. But he was sort of Art Deco, I suppose. But there's a beautiful portrait of a woman with her hand sort of on her crutch. And it's called Ariadne shielding her, and it's spelt Coynte. And I just think that's an absolutely delightful word. It's the
See,
sort
and how
of,
would you pronounce that?
well, well,
You
you either
can't. You can't.
I don't know. I've never heard it pronounced. I suppose you, if you read it, sort of phonetically, it would be coint. And it's sort of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
medieval version of the word. Well, I mean, I don't know what it is really, but I just think
We
it's
use that, and I must confess to sometimes saying that when something goes wrong or I drop something or yeah,
But
yeah.
there's also been an experiment that I think Stephen Fry did there's a documentary on YouTube about it, that actually swear words have a really important function in stress relief. And
Ah,
there was something about, I think there was a bucket full of ice or iced water, and people put their hands into the ice water. It was so cold it was painful. And the people who swore while they were holding their hands in the iced water could hold them in for longer than the people who didn't.
oh,
So there's a kind of
very good scientific experiment.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think,
Okay.
swearing has a good scientific base. It should be done in times of stress. It's a stress reliever, and it's yeah. So that's my excuse. Well, it's not really my excuse. I mean, I don't feel I need to be excused for. I just find it weird that people do not see me as somebody. I mean, they will often say something like, "Excuse my French," which is a weird English term for, if you swore and you
Very
pretended you
weird
haven't.
English term.
No.
And
And people,
also, what I find so remarkable is people will say, and excuse my French, and then they will still do it.
yes, yes,
Excuse
absolutely.
me, and then they will still do it as if that excuse, I mean, they're not asking for it. It's an announcement rather than, a question.
Yes, yes, exactly. But I mean, I suppose, for me, it's the kind of weird, um, uh, uh, I mean, people apologize. They obviously think that I would not be someone who swears, and so they apologize for swearing in front of me when actually little do they know. Well, they obviously don't know me well enough that I mean, I said the other day something came up in a board meeting, and we were going around the table saying, "What did you think?" And I just said, "What the actual fuck?" And they all looked at me as if, what, did she say that? And I thought you knew that that seems to be a perfectly reasonable response to this ridiculous proposal. And yeah, they were surprised, I think. But in a way, it helps me make a point. But it's I obviously somehow present myself. That's what annoys me about myself, in that I'm clearly not being, there's some way in which I'm not being authentic in how I present myself.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. So there's this whole debate about authenticity. Like anything that comes up is my authentic self, and I need to be able to throw it out there, which I think impulse control is really a very good thing.
oh yeah,
And
no, I don't
way being
disagree with that.
polite and being kind and being empathetic and kind of, you know, keeping other people's feelings or yeah, in
Yeah,
mind
no, I
is
completely agree.
actually
I
a
mean,
good thing. I mean, I
yes. No, I mean, my mother-in-law, Richard's mother, had a real antipathy to any swear words. And I once said fuck in front of her, and she was upset, and I regretted it. But then I have to say that she used the N word, as we call it. She referred to somebody as a nigger in front of me, and I was
know.
equally upset. So, yeah,
My mother used to do that. But I think, we have to keep updating our vocabulary
yeah,
because it's so interesting that when awareness kind of opens up to pain of other people, we adapt our language. That's
yeah,
quite
yeah,
interesting.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my third one. What is your third confession, Lisette?
Oh, I kind of forgot what my third is. What can I say? What can I say?
I
I
don't
have.
know. Something you like, something you hate, Something you've done that you don't admit to?
Hmm. Well, what comes up is that I need a lot of time by myself.
Yeah.
And people often think of me as a very sociable person, and I seem to be everywhere, and everybody assumes that I'm very, very busy, which in a way I am, not as busy as when we were, I think, when we were in our 30s and 40s or 50s even. But I can really spend a day in silence alone with myself, reading a book. But even when I have a lot going on, sometimes I will just on a Sunday or kind of lie in bed and not even read, but just, and then a friend of mine, a wonderful friend of mine from my healing school days, gave me this word and she said, "Oh, Lisette, you're needing integration time." I
Oh,
was like,
that's nice.
"Thank you, Ava. Now I can call it integration time." And then it is again useful. It is not laziness, but yeah, but
No,
also I,
absolutely. I completely, I mean, I think we're, very similar in that sort of way. I mean, I would definitely call myself an introvert. And as an introvert, I think, introverts are supposed to need, they draw their energy and strength from being alone, while
yeah,
extroverts draw their energy and strength from being with other people. And I can only take a certain amount of, well, certainly large quantities of other people. One to one is great. That, that's not stressful, but lots of people I find I just get kind of overwhelmed, and I just get to the point where I think I can't be here anymore. I need to leave, or I need to be somewhere on my own. And that's so I completely and yeah, I mean, I drive to, as I think I've probably said before, I drive to see my mum in London every Sunday. And she is, she's 3 hours drive each way to go and see her. And she says, "Oh, darling, it's, you have to do so much driving to come and see me. Don't feel it." And I love 3 hours, 6 hours alone in the car, listening to the Archer's Omnibus and
yeah.
other, audio books, and no
I
music,
love
absolutely.
how you read books.
Yeah, but it's
But I also, yeah, love to travel by myself. I'm coming to London. And so on the 9th of March, which is a Sunday, I would love to visit with you and your mother.
Oh, lovely.
So
Let's do that. That will be wonderful.
but I love to kind of, book. So I have a conference in London. I'm like, oh, I come 2 days early and I so love to be in a hotel by myself. And, I love my home. I love my partner dearly, really. He's a fabulous, fabulous man. Oh, maybe that was my other confession that, I've never taken an interest in any household tasks and I don't do them.
No, fair
Have
enough. I mean, do you have somebody else do them for you, or does Yoss do household tasks,
I
or
have
or
certainly on Tuesdays, as we speak, there is Sophia who comes in to clean and once a week, and then Jos does everything else.
Oh, wow, fantastic.
I'm the head of the dishwasher. That's my only, but I have not touched a washing machine in the past, I think, 25 years. I don't even know how it works anymore.
Well, I don't think that's a confession. I think that's something to claim, a brilliant achievement from. I wish I could say the same, but sadly, sadly, I manage I am the washing machine, dishwasher, and every other kind of machine manager in my house. Although I do have I certainly do have a cleaner. I don't do cleaning unless I have to, absolutely, unless she's on holiday or something terrible like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And do you cook?
You know, um, not really. Well, sometimes, and I'm kind of the little assistant in the kitchen, but usually I kind of, clean away things that your still needs, and then they're already in my dishwasher. But it's really, I love, from time to time to give dinner parties. Like next week, I have a party for an English woman who comes and she comes to stay. And I said, well, let's, invite your friends from your time in the Netherlands. And so then I invite all these people, and then I go like, what now? I've invited them all. Now something must, come to the table. But also food is no real interest. I'm not really interested in food.
No,
You
no,
have
that's
with music. I like to have a good dinner, but it's of no interest to me.
no. Perhaps there's a word for food anhedonia. It doesn't bring you. There's probably need another word for food, but yeah, it's something that doesn't bring you joy. I mean, if you have general anhedonia, you're likely to be generally depressed. But I think you can have specific areas of anhedonia that aren't a problem. They're just a bit odd, or some people will think them
And
odd.
also, I have no real memory for food. And so Jos can cook because in his mind, he understands how kind of, you know, oil and lemon, how that works. Whereas I really need to have a recipe and then I can do it. So,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
next week I must put my mind to this. But also, I'm a real good buyer of things.
Ah,
I can buy cleverly and then get
what's in
away with a
terms of
lot
food?
in terms of food.
Ah, but you don't cook it. That's really interesting. You buy the ingredients, but then you don't cook them.
Well,
Don't do
when
it.
I come home, when I do some shopping sometimes, also because I love to go to a local Odin store, which is a cooperative that sources directly from farmers. So it's all biological and local and direct. And then I come home with lots of things that I really like. And then Jos says, now, what are you going to make of this? I go, I don't know. I just like these leeks. They look so fresh and so beautiful. And I just liked, and then, but I don't think in,
No,
a
recipe
meal.
terms, meals.
No,
No,
no, no.
no. But then that forces him to be creative. I'm sure that's very good for him to to
Yeah,
create
yeah.
meals out of random purchases of yours.
Out of random ingredients.
I think
Yeah.
that's lovely. Well, that's really interesting. So your three confessions were you don't shower every day or even every other day. What was your first one? You don't like
No soft drink.
Coca-Cola. Yours are
Like
very
one glass of Coca-Cola in
one
1984 or 1983, really.
one glass of Coca-Cola in your entire life, and you don't terribly like food. So that's interesting. While mine were I don't like music. I do love popular television and particularly soap operas, and I swear a lot. So sorry about that. Apologies if I've offended anybody today, but
Well, it gets more and more interesting. The more I know about you, Lucy, and it's also, the mystery of friendship where we are different and we think differently about things, and yet we have this great friendship. And it
yes,
is
yes.
lovely again to talk with you. So
And
see
you,
you
and we'll talk again next week.
next week. Bye.
Bye.